Well. We're doing it again. But this time, a bit of a continuation from that parenting book from last week. But this is a different angle. This is more like an individual kind of thing. And I guess this is something you can teach your kids as well. Because for me, this is... It was one of those moments where it reconfirmed for me in my mind the reason why I think reading is so important. Because a lot of people have, and I've talked to other people before, and they have this misconception that with reading and stuff like that you have to be able to recall everything that is in that book that you've read. And I think that's a really unrealistic expectation to put on yourself when it comes to reading. Because for me, the most important, if you're looking to reference all the bits of information, have it drawn on command, I think that's something you can learn over time, and by referencing it and and especially telling other people about what you're reading, I think it definitely helps a huge amount in retaining that information. But you're never going to get it all, I think. And I don't feel like you need to in this day and age, especially with the internet existing, which essentially becomes a forever log of information, where it's just information is just there forever once it's put up on there. So I don't think you always need to remember every bit of information, because for me, the important thing about reading is it's you read these books and you go one after the other and you keep reading, and what you're really looking for is that one takeaway. And you can read a whole book, you can read 10 whole books, and maybe you have this one, and I've spoken about it before, but mini epiphany, little mini epiphany. And that just changes everything. Once you have that, you have a lesson or something or a perspective that you take for the rest of your life. And I had one of those this week. So when people were asking me, how was your day and stuff like that, I could do nothing else but reply saying terrific, and not just, oh yeah, okay, fine, or no, it's that day, Wednesday, halfway through the week. It was, well, I probably still said that as well, knowing me. Ugh. But the lesson I learnt from this book, from the parenting book, was something that I think, looking back in reflection, I'm like, man, there's been so many times where this would have caused me so much internal frustration. And then looking at it on the other side of the interaction, there's probably, countless instances where people have been frustrated with me for this reason. And that's why I think it's very important to be aware of this. And it's never going, being aware of it isn't always going to mean that you can catch yourself every single time, but at least it will help you potentially catch yourself, and get yourself in the habit of not falling into this trap. And the teaching from the book, or the thought, or the little mini epiphany that I had, was this line where he was talking about, where he says that, Wayne Dyer pretty much says, there's so much, frustration and misunderstanding caused in communication and interactions between people. Not just, he's speaking, from the child to a parent kind of dynamic, but he also means more generally speaking as well. There's so much frustration and misunderstanding, because what regularly happens is a speaker or person in an interaction has this unrealistic, when you think about it, it's a very unrealistic expectation that everyone else in the world should understand them fully understand what they're saying and them as a person all the time. And that is just impossible. When you think about your own life story and the legacy that has brought you to where you are today, I don't think there's enough words or that can ever describe, or there's nothing I think you can fully do that will ever fully describe your experience and your life to someone. So yeah, it's not too unrealistic for when you just say something and then someone responds in a way that you feel makes you feel like they don't understand you. You have to remember they're coming from their own real perspective. And I know this sounds so not cliche, but like a kind of pedestrian observation in life that, oh yeah, you know, different people have different lives, so it's can be hard for people to like understand immediately. But we still fall into that trap where we kind of have this weird expectation that people should just get us and get what we're trying to say, like from day dot. And we can go into many interactions in life, and it doesn't even have to be like getting you on an emotional level. It could be getting you on like understanding you in a technical sense. So there's been times in my work where I've been communicating in a way that is more statistical talk or more statistical language than the audience's capabilities were at. And so I would have caused major misunderstanding. Luckily, I wasn't frustrated. I mean, I was a little bit concerned because I was like, wait, you don't understand what I mean? And then that's when I made the connection of, oh, I need to change how I'm communicating. But for me, hearing the way he worded it, just like, yeah, you have this expectation that people should fully understand you all the time. Don't you think that's ridiculous? Don't you think that's a bit much? And it was just the way he worded it in like that Wayne Dyer like worded it in that moment, like in that book, like in the book, where I was just like, yeah, that's been my problem so many times in life. Like, it's less and less so now, like just because I'm starting to have more and more of these little epiphanies and, you know, figuring out perspectives and stuff like that. But sometimes when you just hear it written down and it's said in the right way, it all just kind of clicks that little bit more, and it's like, yeah, this so right. And now going forward, I'm just always like kind of trying to keep that in my mind regularly. It's just like, you don't get frustrated when people don't understand you, because, you know, that's difficult. You know, that's an unrealistic expectation. Like, be patient with people, and if anything, you know, I think it just is a moment for you to grow as a person, because it provides you, if there is a misunderstanding or you feel like people aren't getting what you're trying to say or get you, that's not necessarily a moment that you should feel frustrated. Another way to look at it is like feel motivated or excited. Like, I'd say excitement's probably the best thing, because it allows you to have the challenge of forcing you to change your communication style or make some sort of adjustment to get your point across. And I think the more situations, the more people that you come into contact with, and the more times and situations you have those misunderstandings or that lack of misunderstanding or, you know, kind of lost in translation, I think that gives the more situations like that you can kind of find yourself in, it gives you more and more opportunities to like improve your communication strategies and skills, and be able to quickly figure out which kind of technique or what kind of communication style you should go with to get your point best across to the person in front of you. And I think the more you vary that up, just the better you'll be in general. I think the better you can communicate, I think the better you will be emotionally speaking, because, well, you won't have that frustration of people feeling like, you know, having that internal feeling that you feel like people don't understand you, because you'll be much more fine-tuning your message to the very audience in front of you. And I think that's an important thing, while always still remembering that little epiphany of, don't get frustrated, because you can't expect them to get you every time. But yeah, you know, something I thought that was something I wanted to share with you guys, and hopefully you found it useful. So, you know, as they say on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week, and have a great one, because I know I did.